national development. Let's take a look.
Yeah, you can come over.
See you later. L-O-V-E, she a give me. And to tell me say, I make she want baby. Stay down for the baby, I rock it. Yeah, tell me say, boy, I give me some more. Give me some more. Yeah, tell me say, boy, I give me some more. The love that we share, me need some more.
Well, how are you?
I'm alright.
Okay, can you please tell us your name and what you do?
Banky Gray Johnson, I'm really a creative director. That's mostly what I do. And a creative director is basically someone that is known to kind of have an eye for art. My background is through graphic design, and then I studied film studies, then advertising design and marketing research. So basically, if you put all those things together, I'll be somewhat of a creative director.
Mr. Johnson, can you tell us your childhood days?
Well, I was born and raised in Banjul, Hagan Street, and my grandparents basically did most of that. It was a humble background, kind of very disciplined background, and I went to all my schools in Banjul from St. Joseph's Prep, KG. Then after that, went into middle school, St. Augustine's, and high school. Then, after that, then I moved to Fajara. I was there since I was 14 till I was around 17. Then I went off to college in the U.S. So, I mean, I think it was just like a typical, Greater Banjul area experience. Nothing too special, really. Okay. Till we are where we are. But your background basically adds on to who you become. Yeah. So yeah, that basically added a lot to it. First experience, it was much faster. That was one. Number two was it's really the land of opportunity. It has basically anything you can think of. It provides you the opportunity to meet people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different places, different environments. And it also makes you appreciate the environment that you came from at the same time. Of course, what we thought of about the US or anywhere else before you actually leave is not necessarily the reality once you arrive. And getting to know the place after a while, you'll come to realize as you become more mature, as you get to learn more, and as you get to also stay in touch. Because the reason why they lose the idea of coming back home is because they forget about back home. I was a bit blessed with the opportunity. And every once in a while, I used to be able to come back home, at least come once a year, whether it's for Christmas, and sometimes I'll come down and I'll spend 3 months. And in '04, I spent 8 months straight over here. And I had the opportunity to have an internship, and I worked with Lamin Morena from Studio 361. And he basically opened up the idea that with what I wanted to do, back then I was just doing graphic design. With what I wanted to do, there was a market for it. It wasn't as big, but people like him were making a living. Not only that too, but it seemed like Gambia basically had a need for it. All these GSM companies were opening up. Back then, we had Gamcell and Africell then, and Comium had just came in around that time, I think a little bit later. And this is before the banks all sprouted up and everything else. So when I was there, I kind of saw a future. So when I went back, I finished up, and the first thing I did after I finished up was like, well, this is what I want to do. I worked for a little bit in the States. I started a company over there. The first one failed. The second one took off, and we were on it for a good 3-4 years. So after the 4th year, there was nothing else you could really do. It was just us working. There was no real expansion. So that's when I decided to come back home, because at least I knew that there was a niche over here, there was a market. And I knew that there's something that we could have done, not only through having a career or making money, but at the same time too adding to national development, because there wasn't that many young people that were coming back to basically add value to where they came from. And that's one of the biggest things that inspired me to try to come back and make something. It's quite tough for someone to see your vision, especially if it's a vision that you have for something that they hold very dearly, something that's theirs. And when a lot of companies that hire me want to see what ideas that I have to make sure that their business works, or that it becomes more attractive to the audience they're talking to, or even to try to find an avenue of what language to use to attract their audience towards them, or what visual or whatever it may be. The tough part about it is that the idea that Fi Gambiela, for example, where some people don't actually see that value in their clientele or their product to take on an innovative idea of selling their products, to their demographic or to their target audience. You face that. You also face the idea of knowing what value is. You find a lot of people thinking that, okay, it's all but a buck, where you give them something like, listen, if you want quality, you have to do this. And they're like, oh, nah, Fi Gambiela, no, I'm not going to do that. Why? No, I'll just do something cheap. And then you face a lot of those things, basically, where they just believe that, okay, what are you talking about? That might be nice, but not for Gambia. You find a lot of challenges like that. You also find the challenge of not having enough human resources, not enough manpower. It's not like our industry is really that booming with that many professionals. You have a lot of so-called media people in this country. There's a lot of media companies. There's a lot of brokers that call themselves moguls or something like that. Those people basically take away from the real people that went to school, studied it, worked hard, have the portfolio, the background, that come through and try to add value to it. But they've come to find out that most of the time those things, because of nepotism or some kind of family affiliation that's not necessarily just nepotism, but just some patronizing. There's a lot of those things going on, and most of the time it hampers people like us and what we're doing, and also the other people that are trying to come up, that are trying to do it seriously.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have a few challenges, but those challenges could be met. And, with the advent of GRTS and the ACE cable coming up this Christmas or this December, and all these other new emerging technologies coming up, it's only a matter of time. It will develop, but there will always be challenges, and those are some of the challenges we have. We had to create a separate entity because it was a job that we were going for that required to have something that's more media orientated added to it, and they wanted something that's more specified so that as soon as you see it, you see print. So I came up with the idea like, oh, hot ink, and they were like, what's that? I'm like, ink with tanga.
Yeah.
Everything that's like if it comes out the presses, it's called hot ink because it's fresh, it's new, it's different. It has a lot to do with the new age.
Life.
Yeah, it's a new age. It sounds different. It sounds different. It sounds hip. It sounds modern. So that's why we roll with it.
What else do you do outside South Gambia?
Well, Shout Gambia was a pet project. Shout Gambia is the least of the things that we do. What we do mostly is create visual marketing solutions. That's what we mostly do with all of our clients, really. Some of them are more high scale. Some of them come every once in a while, but they're all equally important. We handle some budgets of big name companies, for example. And we spread out their work over here, manage their advertising, their marketing, their branding and visuals. We do that for a few companies here. We also are very into TV programming. On TV alone, we have 2 shows going on right now. And then we're working on a 3rd one, which we should start, I think, the end of this month. It should be airing shortly. We're also working on a 2nd volume of Shout Gambia, Volume 2, which we seem to be having a lot of feedback on.